Hello, everyone. Today, this is Troy from BBR Worms and Greens. So, I have another video I'm doing right now, obviously, and this one is kind of a 1 or 2 day after the last video, which essentially, though, I ran out of time, so I'm uploading all at the same time. And where I'm actually going through, so it's 2 days after, about a day and a half actually, after a feed. And this is my potworm, my baby bin that has potworms in it. Now, yeah, a little bit of potworms, not a big deal. The amount that I had in this one, which I didn't take a video of, and it was just my son was going to bed, and I can't talk when he's in bed and stuff like that. So, I just simply couldn't take a video, or maybe next time I will, but I'll narrate it after the fact. Anyways, I was a little freaked out, and I wasn't thinking right. So I let the bin dry for a couple days, and then I had fed it 2 days ago, day and a half, 2 days ago, and now basically I'm looking to see what is going on in here. I feel like there's definitely less potworms, but there's still a lot. So what I'm doing now is I'm selectively going through, and I'm pulling out food or things that have a lot of potworm eggs on them, and potworms in general. And I'm literally picking out the baby worms piece by piece. And so I figure this might be a bit of a learning experience for everyone. So when you feed, then you get lots of stuff because they want the same bacteria. They eat on the same bacteria that the worms do. So basically, they'll just essentially take over if given the opportunity. Just because they're going to eat all the food and there's going to be nothing left. So I'm taking out all the things that they love and them along with them. And what I'm going to do is, after I take out what I need to take out, I'm going to throw in some dry food. Which, if you saw my last video, there's essentially no dry food left, right? That stuff goes in a matter of minutes or hours. I don't really know. But see, this one here is kind of what made me want to do a video. So I took out kind of already half a side. So I took out this side already. Now I'm going to kind of work on the other side. But practically speaking, stuff like this, I see no little baby worm on there. So otherwise I would, take them out. But all I see is just bad news. So it's gone. And you can always put more food in there, but I mean, removing potworms piece by piece is a nightmare. So see all that? That's not great. I'm not going through every speck and every chunk of this thing, but what I am doing is literally going through what I can, what's feasible, and getting rid, save the baby worms, obviously, as much as I can. Hey, little dude, save him, assuming he wants to be saved, and then just throwing out stuff that has a lot of guys on it. So thankfully today, my mother has my toddler. Otherwise, I would not have the time to do stuff like this. So again, I'm not going to go absolutely nuts, but when I see a chunk like this, and more for the video's sake, when I see a chunk like this that has, God, I don't know, probably 100 potworms and kind of 4 babies, it really annoys me. So kind of going through, again, more for video's sake than anything. Otherwise, I may have to sacrifice a few babies just to get this bin under control. But I feel like it's a lot more in control than it was a few days ago. Because it was, I literally, the babies had no life in them. I'm sure some did. Some definitely did. But when you looked at my last video, if you actually watched pretty much the majority of it, and you'll see essentially the before, not a before, I guess, but a good bin and with this bin, which is the bad bin, and then a good bin right after it. And it's definitely different, and you can see stuff is teeming with life in the other one, and these ones were just just slow, placid. See, like this here, this is exactly what I'm trying to get rid of. Like, worm balls are great. Potworm balls, not so great. Right? So, in this case, there's literally no babies that I can see. It just goes into a magic bin of potworm destruction. Right? And there's I don't know. I'm not going to count them, obviously. 10,000 or something eggs, some crazy amount in there, maybe. So, again, not going through every single little piece, but when I see larger chunks here that are just so, low hanging fruit, right? Just low hanging fruit. I'm just gonna pop the baby out, and you know what? A few babies might have to be sacrificed, and it is what it is. It's no different than if you're sifting and some of the babies just don't make it, kind of thing, right? Same deal. But while I have a free hour, I'm going to do the best I can. Because that really surprised me. All my other bins were great, and this bin was just a little nightmare bin. So I see one other baby, and then the rest are potworms. So that's pretty much it. So and then here's a prime example of. I mean, there's literally no babies on here. There's just monsters. And again, this stuff in small quantities, not a problem. This stuff in large quantities like this, and they're just eating all the good bacteria, right? So, you can see this whole thing is just potworm central. There's literally not one baby that I can see in here. So the whole thing is just gone. So I'm taking all their food, unfortunately, but at the same time, I'm going to replace it with some dry food, which the potworms, I mean, they probably like to an extent, but they definitely like the wet, stringy, or the worm is stringy. They definitely like the wet, nourishing food better than the dry food, right? Because they don't attach to dry pieces of cardboard, right? They attach themselves to, all the nice fruit that I give them and all that stuff. So yeah. So anyways, that is pretty much it. So, just gonna do this and kind of talk a little bit about the process, and which is, again, I normally don't have time for this, but I also normally don't have infested. Sorry, I'm doing some of this stuff off camera because I was trying to do it over the bad worm bin, the potworm bin, so I can basically just knock out a few things here or there. So yeah, so I mean, there's one or two babies in there. Oh, this is a nice one here. But then the rest are just little monsters. So there they go. And then just kind of going through. So I think, I'm not entirely sure. I know this bin was moist. I know that there was, and again, look at this. So same kind of thing. You find a little ball and you wonder what's in the ball. It is a whole pile of potworms, and as far as I can tell, so far, maybe two of the worms we actually want. So yeah. Anyways, I know the bin was moist, very very wet, I should say, not moist, but very wet. And at some point, I don't know, a week or two ago, I put some pineapples in here, but not much. Like there really wouldn't have been much, but maybe it created a too acidic of an environment. So you just, going through, trying to identify, these little areas of food that, again, are good for both of them. But in this bin, potworms are like 100 times more, I think, than the regular worms, and all the other bins are definitely the opposite. And I mean, even if they're on par, that's okay, because there is, on my other bins, there's a heck of a lot of good worms and certainly a lot less potworms. And yeah, so that's it. So again, wetness is and acidity. This is what I've been trying to get at. I'm just trying to also kind of narrate some of this crap as I'm doing it. So yeah, so the wetness and acidity is the two main drivers for massive kind of potworm incursions. So if you keep your bins not too acidic, and if you keep them decent moisture, most people like their baby bins to be moister, and then you should. I think where I went wrong is that and this is just a life thing, I fed them, and then I didn't see. Look at that! Look at the wriggly little buggers. They're definitely well fed, so they have to die. Yeah. So anyway, so I fed them, and I didn't look at them for a few days. That was my fault, and yeah. So the bin got really wet. I mean, you can't see acidity, right? But the bin got really wet, and it just probably festered, and that was that. So let's keep going through. I absolutely don't expect anyone to watch this whole video. If you do, kudos. You know, maybe put in the if you watched up until this point, good for you, and maybe put in the comments. I don't know, like I watched the whole video, or just some random little thing, just to throw a comment or two in there. But this is a common thing people have. So I'm trying to shed some light on it, and literally speaking, I guess, and just showing you that yeah, it's tedious, time consuming. You may not have to do this. I mean, like this is more of an abundance of caution, because I'm trying to grow these out, and yeah, like there was definitely more in here before, more more babies before than there is now. So I know I lost some. I'm just trying to get back to kind of what my other bins have, and I'm definitely not going to get everything I want done today in here, but it is what it is. So while I do this wriggling nightmare of disaster, I'm going to give you some other updates. I know I gave an update video a couple days ago. So we're kind of we're doing nursery plants stuff, and vegetables and stuff like that for the upcoming season, and we planted a little too early, because stuff that normally should take, and I guess, I mean, this is just kudos to us too for making a good mix or whatever, but we did some stuff a few days ago, a lot. We have literally a full baker's rack of stuff going on, and probably like 500 seeds in total, bare minimum actually, and stuff that was taking that should have taken a week to germinate. Oh, it's already germinated, and some of the stuff is an inch or two, and it literally took 2 to 3 days. So note to you, if you use worm castings, if you use a decent basically just a decent potting mix and some cocoa coir, you can make a really good mix, and stuff can germinate way faster than it should. So now it's going to be basically, in about 2 months, we're going to have a massive amount of full life plants in here that we're going to have to deal with. And that's okay. That's okay, because I'm absolutely not complaining. There's enough. There's enough good stuff in there to warrant the bad. Not complaining because I mean we have some grow tents that are not not put together or anything like that. Look at that. It's like just buggers everywhere. Anyways, thankfully this is only one bin, so I mean there's that. Right, so we have some grow tents that are not together. So I don't know if you can see that. I mean, you should kind of just take a quick look. Like there is a lot of potworms on there. It is just potworm city. So I mean, I'd love to just dump this whole thing in that bin and just be done with it. But I know there's probably also like I don't know, maybe 100 worms in here or something. So I'm kind of just going to go through and grab what I grab. Like you can see just on me. Like it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. So yeah, because this bin has a lot of babies, and heck, there's a cocoon right here. Hope that is captured pretty well. Definitely want to keep that. Definitely want to throw this away. Anyways, yeah. So we have a whole pile of nursery guys that are plants that are going to need homes, and then we're going to do several other batches, and the several other batches will be same stuff, different stuff, whatever it is. And yeah, see like this is I don't even want to disturb this too much. I'm just going to sacrifice the whole thing. It's probably just potworm anyway, or mostly. And yeah. And so then we're gonna have multiple baker's racks. I have another one already, and we're gonna throw that one. There's another cocoon, another baby, more babies. Yeah. So, anyways, we're gonna throw some. Sorry if I'm kind of flip flopping. I'm kind of narrating while I'm giving the update, but yeah. So we're gonna have some probably in the area of a few thousand. So like this is a good example here where there is, there are definitely some potworms, but there's definitely more baby worms. So that's okay. Like I'm okay with that. It's when you have one baby worm and 100 potworms that I'm not so okay with. So like again, here's another example of what I'm not okay with. I see 0 baby worms other than the one that's the 3, I guess, that are on me, maybe 4. And then I see all kinds of potworms on here. So they're just kind of hogging all the food. So might as well just get rid of the food. So again, another example where kind of a 50-50 split here, but you crack stuff open, you look at it, there's enough babies in here that I'm okay with. So anyways, we're going to have a lot of plants. We're going to keep kind of doing them every few weeks. And come the springtime, we're going to have a massive sale. That's kind of the idea. We have not a terribly large backyard, but we have a decent amount. We're in a subdivision, but we have a corner lot. We expanded stuff like that, so it's the backyard's a little bit bigger than what it was when we got it, and yeah, we're able to do a few things with it, and we're doing some gardening, and hopefully bringing in some money. You're not gonna get rich off of this stuff. I know that for a fact, but I mean, if you're bringing a few $1,000s, it's definitely better than nothing, and it's something we enjoy, and it also, it's gonna pay for. If you're bringing, let's say, $5,000, right? I'm in Canada, so $5,000 is like $4,000 to you Americans, and wherever else in the world you are, I don't know. But at the same time, look at that. It's like paste, just potworm paste. So grab that. Not great. There's like one baby one there, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So you're not going to make a killing, but if you have if you buy the lights, because you don't maybe have a greenhouse, because again I'm in Canada, not doing a greenhouse, not a real proper greenhouse anyways. I'll explain that in a minute, but do some stuff indoors, and yeah, more strawberries that unfortunately have to go. And then yeah, so basically just make a whole bunch of extra stuff with the intent to do a nice sale, and then you're gonna also make a name for yourself, and you're also gonna make a name for your worm business, right? So that's kind of what I'm. Look at that. There's this year, unfortunately, there's a couple babies in here, but there's just, and I'll save half of it. Um, so then you get to start talking to your neighbors and whoever else is coming. They ask about worm farming and kind of blah blah blah. So yeah, that's kind of the thought process behind that. It helps out everything, and hopefully you can, make some worm sales and stuff like that. Make some casting sales. Ideally you're selling some castings while you're, selling all your potting mix or not your potting mix, but your potted plants and stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that is probably it. I'm just gonna finish off a little bit more here. If you guys want to kind of stick around, I'll just keep kind of narrating. Yeah, so I guess my plan is going to be for this too. And there's a banana here, so I'm guessing this is going to be horror central. But let's see what's in here. Oh, you know what? Not bad. Not bad at all. See this one here, like, are good worms. I really don't see many of the baddies at all. So I mean that one definitely stays. There's a couple good and a couple bad. So I'm going to knock off the good. Oh no. And yeah, throw out the bad. Let's see here. There's nothing else really terrible. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, again, so just kind of going through, and ideally what you're left with is a bin that has, well, definitely gonna have less potworms than when I started. That's for damn sure. Just a better ratio, and you're also really seeing in here, what's going on. Now this bin is honestly much drier than at least my other bins were. I fed them the other day, but I didn't actually put any moisture in because this room is now doubling as nursery. So I have grow lights, but I also have a lot of human potted seedlings and stuff in here. So there's a heck of a lot of moisture. The other nice thing is, if you do something like this where you're basically double using the room with plants and stuff. Yeah, so this is super dry, right? Or I mean, not super dry, I guess, but definitely drier than I would like. The other benefit is that you don't have to really worry about moisture too much, other than the fact that there's going to be a lot of moisture, and that might be an issue unless you have a way of dealing with it or whatever. Again, always just use lots of cardboard. It dries stuff out. Cardboard, extra pieces of paper, moving the center to the outsides when you're fooling around in here is definitely helpful. It's also nice to see that these babies are definitely growing up. And here you go. You have an example of, I don't know, there's probably 50 or something potworms in my hand. There's no good point. There's no good worms in there. So I mean that's just gone. So yeah, you dry out the bin. What I'm also going to do is I'm also throw down some of my worm chow, which the worm chow has a healthy amount of oyster shells, crushed oyster shells, dolomite lime, and things which buffer the pH. So put that stuff in your worm bin. Get it drier. Get these, selectively pull out food. Substitute it with. I think this is going to be a baddie. Let's see here. You can see whatever this food is. You can definitely see a lot of good worms, but you can see a large amount of bad worms too. So it's kind of like peeling an onion. So I popped that guy off. Let's see. There's another real baby there. There's a few babies here. So there's literally two just connected to each other. Let's see. Okay, save that guy. And then there's just that's just a swirling mass of garbage. So that goes in there. And then you keep looking. So do I suggest everyone do this? No. It depends how much stuff you have in your worm bin, first of all. If you only had, a few hundred babies in there or something, just sacrifice them. If it's, if you can't do anything better for them. It just so happens that, again, my mom took my son today, so I have a very unusual free afternoon, and this is part of what I'm choosing to do. Like they're just everywhere. And so if you now here's the thing. Like, look at this. This is just crazy. And I don't even know what food this was because I can't tell, but it doesn't really matter because it's just infested with these little buggers. So, anyways, yeah. If you had anywhere more than maybe one bin, probably wouldn't be suggesting doing this or anything like that. It really depends on how much time you have. If you're retired and stuff and really have nothing better to do, then knock yourself out. Again, here's another example. There's not much left in this. It's just the top of the banana, but there's not one good worm on here, and there's a whole bunch of bads. So you just take stuff out, and then if you spend the time to selectively try to solve some of these problems, you're going to be better for it. You're just going to be better for it. So this was a good example of where, yeah, there's definitely some little buggers in here, but then there's also a lot of little buggers, of good buggers. So I'm just keeping them because they're going to kind of outweigh it. Look at this. This is let's see. It's like opening up a Kinder Surprise every time, right? You're just seeing here. So it's a little tiny ball. There's definitely some little guys in here, but there's also some good ones. So I'm going to get rid of this little piece of whatever it was, and then just keep the rest of it. And probably do this for another maybe 2 minutes or so, and then kind of call it quits. And maybe do it again. Definitely do it again after the next feed. Just to make sure things are going to be kind of in control at that point, hopefully, or on the way to control, if nothing else. So again, top of the banana, I just pulled out 3 good worms, but then there's just a whole bunch of bad ones. If nothing else, this is a good view for you guys to see this stuff. Hopefully you don't have to deal with this, but if you do, at least you know that it's salvageable most of the time. Yeah, let's see here. Let's try to find some more balls. Again, this stuff is not worth my time. I'm just trying to see. I'm more looking to see what's actually in here. When I see a little ball, because it might have just been like a strawberry or something where it's kind of covered in nuisances. Like here, this one here, for instance. I see one dude, so he's gone. And then, let's see, I see another one, so, save him. Try to save him. Sometimes I don't want to be saved. And then I see a little swirling mass here. I don't see one little dude in there, so try to save him. Oh, some good ones there. There's some bad guys there, and then let's see. Let's just pull this apart. There's what, 50 in there or something. I don't really know, and no good ones. So yeah, this is probably the most boring video I'm going to do, but probably one of the most useful too, because you really get to see where they're hiding. What is what they look like, and kind of how to remove them. So at this point, I'm kind of just looking at these little balls just to see kind of what's in here. And I will say, just from my perception of things too, and you got to make sure you're also not getting rid of the cocoons. I found quite a few cocoons in here. That these guys look, my good guys anyways, the wigglers, they look a lot healthier. They look a lot better than they did a few days ago. So it leads me to believe that, because they like moisture, right? They like moisture, but they don't like acidity. So it does lead me to believe that it was probably too acidic, and I was, harming them. And that's kind of what happened, because these guys are moving around, they're wiggling around. When I found this a few days ago, they were not they were not moving pretty much at all. Again, hindsight 2020, I should have taken a video, but I didn't, and so that's why I'm kind of taking extra videos now. Oh, there you go. I got the little bugger. That's the other nice thing too. The potworms, they don't stick to you nearly as well as the red wigglers do. So trying to pull them apart of the herd or the mass, or whatever you want to call them, is a heck of a lot easier. And they're always trying to stick to you. Whereas the potworms, they really don't. So it's really not that hard to pull these apart if you have, just again, sufficient amount of time. And so basically dry the bin out, go through, and that's the other thing too. Like, you saw me pulling out things like, let's see here, garbage, things like this. Like, this is a really good amount of food, but if literally it's just candy coated in potworm eggs, it's really not going to benefit anyone. So take it out, be done with it. Look at that. So like on something like this here, we have one good worm, so I pull him out, and then I get rid of that piece, and then get a couple more good worms. Actually, there's enough good worms here. I'm just going to leave them, because it's less I can get. Yeah. All right. I will throw this piece in there, and then look, there's still a lot of good worms in here. So again, they're much more active than they were the other day. Probably still not quite as active as my other. Let's see, like that right there. Those little monsters, they're dropping in the fire. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I know I've probably said that 10 times now, and pretty much guaranteed no one's going to watch to this point. If you do, seriously, throw a comment in there and just say, yes, I actually watched to, I don't know, whatever this is, probably like 30 minutes at this point. But there's a lot of quick videos, about potworms and stuff like that. There really is, and they explain things very succinctly. But what they don't go through, or at least most of them, I'm sure there's probably some that do, what don't go through is someone literally going through and picking through these little buggers, and showing you that it is possible to separate them, and just save your worm bin. So again, pH buffering through. I mean, cocoa core is good for pH buffering, right? So yeah, there's a lot of guys there that I'm getting rid of. So cocoa core will help as a material, right? As the bedding itself. Beyond that, the oyster shells, egg shells. Again, they have to be crushed up or more. You know, pulverized is obviously ideal. And what else there? Dolomite lime. And I mean, that's the biggest thing. Just putting these things in there, preferably before. But you know, if you see an issue, then definitely do it during the issue. Yes, I mean these guys are okay. And then just spending a little bit of time trying to figure out if you can do this, if you can do exactly what I'm doing. Just try to grab, if nothing else, get the low-hanging fruit. You're gonna, or another thing to do literally is to put fruit in here. So if you get, well, I mean, you saw the banana peels, the oh, look at that! I found a little baby that I missed. All right, let's save him. You know, literally get some banana peels. I don't want to move this around too much, but get some banana peels, throw them in here, and you know, make sure they're nice and sufficiently wet and stuff like that. They will just be attracted to it. And then you can just pull them up, and then you take them out. So that's another way of doing it too. I mean, I did this because I needed to feed them, but that's also why I'm coming in. I'm coming to take a look at that food and pull it out if I have to. So yeah, so I'm done for now. I'm happy that this bin you know, is on his way to recovery, and this is, you know, this is not a small amount of stuff I pulled out, right? It's, you know, you have all this stuff here. You know, you have all this. I know it's probably not the easiest to see in this little black container, but I mean, there are thousands upon thousands of eggs. Oh yeah, this is from the other side before I took the video. I mean, this thing is just teeming. Let's see here. Oh yeah, look at that. I got 2 more baby worms. All right. So I mean, again, try to save the baby worms if you can. If you can't, well, I mean, you can't. There's more where that comes from. And then, so here is the dry. Well, let's see what I got in here. So like on this one, you know, there's a bunch of babies and there's a bunch of potworms. But as long as there's a bunch of potworms, or as long as there's a bunch of babies, I'm happy to keep it. It's when there's no potworm, God, it's when there's no babies, that really doesn't help. So I have a fan on in the room right now, so you can see like just a swirl. Probably not the best thing to have in here, but it is what it is. So I'm feeding this all over. So again, this has dolomite lime. I mean, it has all the foods. So oats, cornmeal, all that kind of stuff. Dolomite lime, crushed oyster shells. What's the other one? I have some glacial minerals that I don't know. They're basically just rock. So I mean, you know, pieces of rock. Powder for grit, all kinds of stuff in there. But the stuff you really want to make sure you have in there is the stuff that buffers pH. So the oyster shells, egg shells, dolomite lime, that's the biggest thing. Because it took out so much food. I mean, I pretty much just took out their entire feeding from a couple days ago. I'm going to give them, you know, a lot of this stuff. And the other thing this does too, I mean, it dries out the bin because this is all dry, super dry stuff. And it also buffers the pH even more. So if there's even still some acidity, well, not so much after this. There's no way it's going to kind of survive all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of move this in. And normally you throw a little bit of moisture in here and stuff like that. This is still relatively moist. This is because there was moisture in the food the other day. That transferred over to here. After this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one other baby bin that I have to kind of look through it on the video, just to see if you guys can see a difference. And yeah, so this should take care of the soil. It should definitely take care of the soil. Make sure everything is nicely neutral. And I have a lot of, so that's the thing too, right? It's kind of like peeling an onion when you open these bins up. So always take a look at the top. If you use something like this where you have paper and then a piece of piece of plastic, always take a look in here. When I came in the other day, this was sopping wet. This was just dripping, and you can see that there's moisture on here. It is wet. It is damp, I should say. But it's not insane by any standards. But there's a lot of them. If it goes crazy, it will be sopping wet. So you want to make sure you check on that. Check at each level, each layer. So I'm just going to get one baby bin. So on my other video, I don't have them numbered or anything like that, but I have 3 baby bins. I have 2 good ones and a bad one. So my other video, I checked on the other one. So this one here, I'm just going to do this one. So here's an example. This bin is still too moist. You can see, I should say too moist. It could be moist enough. It really just depends. It entirely depends on, what you're going for and how good or bad your worm bin is. So right now, I mean, if you look in here, let's see, do I have stuff growing? Yeah, I do got stuff growing. If you look in here, you don't see any potworm stuff. I mean, I'm going to dig down, and there's definitely going to be some potworms, but you don't see the clusters, right? You don't see this stuff on the top. And the other day, I saw this stuff all over the top of that other bin. So in the matter of, I don't know, 3-4 days, whatever it is, I've certainly dealt with a lot of the issues. So here I'm going to grab a piece of food. There's potworm stuff in there, and there is, there's no babies. So I'm just going to get rid of it at an abundance of caution at this point. There's not a lot of potworms on this one. I'm going to keep that and then just throw this piece out that has some. And I'm not going through all my bins. That's certainly not going to happen. But it's really the babies that I'm concerned with, because they also have a lot of. There should have been something like 50,000 babies or 50,000 cocoons, and so yeah, I want to make sure that there's definitely some nice ones, and here's an actual cocoon right there. I hope that's well visible. There's a little piece of dirt on it, but yeah. Anyways, so as you can see here, look at that, another or the same cocoon. I'm really not certain which. Oh, literally, cocoon was riding a baby. You see baby, couple potworms here or there. Not the end of the world. I'm certainly not going through. And then you see, again, this is what I would deem as a healthy bin, where you have a whole bunch of good worms and definitely some sporadic. Look at that. I mean, that is night and day difference between the last bin and this bin, right? You just have all of the goodness and none of the badness. So, am I concerned about this bin? Not at all. And will there be some spots that have a whole bunch of potworms in there? Possibly. But what I'm more concerned about, if anything, is that this bin is still quite moist. So let's see in here. Look at that. There's no babies. There's definitely some potworm eggs. But I'm probably going to do, to be honest, and I'm let's see what's in there. Yeah, so I'm just going to brush off some potworm eggs. This is still a good amount of food. And I'm going to shove it back underneath. And they can go nuts with it. Yeah, so the only thing I'm concerned about in this bin is still the amount of moisture. And I like more moisture than less, and this is actually a really good moisture level for one of these bins. But if it got any worse, that would be concerning. So these guys, again, you can see the little baby potworms all over the place, but I mean that is kind of overshadowed by all the other worms. So again, this is what I would say is definitely a healthy bin. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically throw some more cardboard in here, which is, look at that, right? They're all over me, all the good ones anyways. So I'm just going to basically just wipe off some of the potworm stuff, and that's it. So yeah, so I'm going to throw some more cardboard in here. I mean, there's plenty, but it dries stuff out. So I'm going to do that, and then maybe I'll throw another little feeding in here. It can't really hurt anything. There's nothing here to hurt it. And the other nice thing about this, it dries it up. It helps the soil. Whatever isn't eaten helps your soil when you get the castings. And yeah, so it's at the end of the day, as long as you put in your worm chow what will benefit your soil or your worms, I mean that's pretty much all you can kind of hope for, right? So I think I'm going to go one last shot, and feel free to not watch the rest of this or watch the last bin. But I'm just going to check the third baby bin while I'm here. Just out of an abundance of caution. And yeah, so, oh yeah, and I forgot the cardboard. Okay, well, I'll put cardboard in off camera. And this guy here, so let's see. It's wet, but it's actually drier here. So not worried. I probably just left a whole bunch of moisture up there the other day. And I kind of feed on the sides. And I think I see, yeah, there you go. That. I still got some cocoons in here and stuff like that. You can see it right there. I just kind of going through, seeing what I can see. I think this bin the other day was really, yeah, it's actually still really, really moist on the bottom. But like as you can see, there is just, lots of good worms. Really no huge signs of anything bad in here. I don't know. Let's pull this guy up and see. There's almost enough potworms in there for me to care, or not the eggs. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna literally just you can't see this, it's off camera, but I'm just kind of grabbing some of it, and then I'm gonna shove that back in there. What I do feel, so if you always just grab on the outside, you're not really going to do yourself justice. You have to grab directly in the center, and it is so much more moist. I mean, there's 1,000 castings in here. I need to finish my sifter so I can actually sift these out. Here's a good example. Look at this. Where, I mean, there's probably some babies in here, but there's also a lot of useless potworm eggs. So I'm going to just kind of do this off camera. Go through this real quick. Yeah, I literally did not see one baby worm in there. So that's just gone. There's just no benefit to it being there. So again, check in the middle, see how moist things are. And then if you have the time, literally just push that stuff to the side. You're gonna get a whole pile of babies or worms in general. They'll make their way back to wherever they need to be. But what you're doing is you're mixing around the cardboard. You're getting it to where you need to get it to. The center is always going to be the most potentially anaerobic area. It needs to breathe, right? So you just want to basically move stuff around. And yeah, that is 100% it. This bin here looks good. Just seeing if there's any more crazy little spots. And I don't see any. Oh, let's see what's. Yeah, okay. So look at that. Look at that. Perfect. This is exactly what I don't want to see. And so these actually are mites. I don't know if you can see all those. They're at the end of the world. They're not terribly bad, but and they help break stuff down and all that stuff. But when you see all of this and you don't see any worms of any kind, so see here, there's something in there that they really liked, and I'm glad I used some caution and just took a look in here, because I'm happy to get rid of a whole bunch of stuff in one fell swoop. It makes me feel better, and I know it'll save me some issues later. So when I got when I got all these cocoons, these guys were normally like half that size, maybe less. And now in a month and a little bit, they're all the way up to here. So definitely a healthy and productive bin. It has way too many castings in here, but at the same time, it also has a really nice biology to it. And I have not had a single worm. Here's a little fun fact, right? I have not had a single worm try to leave my bin. Period, bar none. Yes, I have lights on and stuff like that, but period, bar none. I have not seen a single one on the floor. They have all the air they need, and stuff like that. So if you have bin issues, if you have all kinds of crazy pot worms and whatever, the first thing I could say is, try not to put them in the 5-gallon buckets if you can help it. I mean, at the same, it's nice you can stack them and blah 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 blah. Look at that. That's pretty cool. I like that. But at the other end of the spectrum is, you can kind of hide them away or whatever, but it really doesn't create any smells. I mean, you don't want them in a kid's room or anything silly like that, but these are adjacent to 2 kids' rooms. Well, 1 kid to be, I guess, and then one other, my toddler. And there's no smells. There's no nothing. So, do the best you can to give them oxygen, right? Don't shove them in a little bin where they get super, super wet, super moist, and you think they're going to eat 5 pounds in a week for like a pound of worms. Like, that's not realistic. I have, there's a lot of them are babies, but I have probably somewhere between 8 and 10 pounds. I don't know, maybe more, who knows at this point. And I mean, they can eat about 10 to 12 pounds about 10 pounds of food a week. Plus about 10 pounds of, maybe 8 to 10 pounds of cardboard. So, where am I going with that? Make sure that you give them the right amount of food. Make sure you give them the right amount of cardboard or paper or whatever, as long as it's shredded up. Put a generous, I see people using like 1 sheet. If you have moisture issues, put 5 sheets, put 10 sheets, whatever newspaper you got. It's not going to hurt anything. It's only going to be food for them later. Eventually, look at all these castings, right? So like eventually, they're just going to eat all through this. It's not going to hurt anything. So I'm not saying put 100 sheets on there at the start, because there's no benefit to that. But do what you can, and that's pretty much it. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a great day. And this was probably a very long episode, and I don't expect anyone to actually go to the end. But if you do, write something funny or whatever it is. Put a joke in there. Doesn't matter. I'll take a look at it, and it'll be all good. Okay, again, this is Troy from BBR Worms and Greens signing off, and you'll see some other updates in a short while. Thanks, bye.